What's going on, everyone? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. This is our live stream. If you're watching on the replay, welcome. If you're here with us live, hope you're having a great day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. There's a lot going on. As you can see, the pound pairs have fallen, giving back all their gains. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at everything. We're going to take a look at the Australian dollar pairs coming off today. We're going to take a look at everything together right now, see what's going on and what we're going to do and how we're going to trade. I hope you all are ready for this session. I think it's going to, I'm just now getting a feel for what's going on with you live. So let's get into it together right now. Let's start off with the pound pairs. Let's look at the pound US dollar, and you can see that it's giving back almost all the election gains. Here we were on election day. This was during New York session, and we were trading right about here when the results came out, and we've since given back all the gains. Why? Because it looks like the Prime Minister Johnson has passed a new bill saying that there will be no more Greek exit delays. This shouldn't really come as a surprise. He was clear what he wanted to do. And here, look, here's the main thing to focus on as we look at the pound pairs. All right. And let's just get a quick look here at the pound Japanese yen, also the pound Canadian dollar. All right. First of all, they're still all bullish. They're still holding, the pound US dollar is holding this trend line over here. This is still pretty bullish formation. But here's the more important thing is, and why for the last couple of days we've been on the sidelines when it comes to the pound, is because if things aren't clear, you have to avoid them. If things aren't clear, you have to avoid them. Avoid adverse market conditions and only take trades when things are clear. And things are definitely not clear up here, and they're not clear here right now either. I mean, right now, I view this as a buying opportunity, if anything, because the trend is still positive. We're still above nice support levels, and this was nothing more than a retracement. This is still pretty bullish, but I'm not trading it, and I'm not looking to trade it, because when things are not clear, you're best to avoid them. That's the way I see it. And longer term here for the British pound, I think that the US is very supportive here of England. They said that they're ready to make a trade deal as soon as they exit, and we might see some if they leave here without a deal. And I don't think the EU wants that. I don't think the EU wants the England to leave without a deal. But if they do leave without a deal, I think it's going to be better off for the British pound in the long run. And that would just be a longer term buying opportunity if we see some initial sell off. Right now, I'm just following as things develop, but I'm not interested in trading the pound. Let's stick where things are clear, and let's take a look where that is right now. See the DXY. Let's start off with the DXY. Blair, by the way, first of all, two things. Thanks for sending over those videos. I got them late last night, so I will not get to take a look at them till later today. But nice profit taken on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen yesterday. You took profits. Let me look at the 8-hour. All the way up here at the close of London. All the way up there. Prices still come off very far. So good job. I'm still long the trade. I'm above my supports, and of course, I'd rather have gotten out, taken the profits as you did, but it was outside of my trading rules and criteria. So I'm sticking with them. And but good job. There's going to be another opportunity to get in here right now. If we get entry criteria, because we definitely have setup criteria. We're above the trend line support here. We're above this support over here. Entry CCI pulled back in an uptrend. And of course, that's not going to develop during New York. Again, avoid the Asian entries. But during London, overnight, look here at the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. And as long as we're above these two support levels, you could look for a reentry here. This looks really good. Let's give it a new color. We'll come back to her in a moment. Start off with the DXY. Maria, good morning. Wilford. All right, so the DXY is right at this resistance, and it looks pretty mixed. Let's see. Let's look over here to the right. I see that the euro is pretty strong today. It's up versus the dollar right now. US dollar is up against the yen, and heavily against the Australian dollar. What's going on with the New Zealand dollar? Up heavily versus the New Zealand dollar also. All right, but it is right at this resistance. All right, this is an important point. So I assume that everything else is going to be at resistance also. I think we will get a clearer picture today. What is going on with the DXY during this session? Let's look at the calendar. There's no events today whatsoever. Okay, the next event on the calendar is overnight out of England, and it's the CPI. Euro US dollar. What's gold doing? See, gold is right at this resistance also. You notice that it did spike up into this resistance of the upper channel on Friday or Thursday this was. And this time so far, it's just getting held down at this resistance. So this looks good for a short entry if we resume downwards. I want to take a look at this on the 8-hour. Yeah, this looks pretty good. This resistance is holding nicely. Price is now being rejected. As far as the risk to reward, let's see. If you were to enter at 1474, you have about a $7 stop loss. It's not so favorable. I'm going to stand aside on there. But it is being rejected here, up here at this resistance, and we might, if we make lower lows here, go down and revisit the lower end of this channel. It's too narrow of a range. The risk reward is not really there, but I'm just watching and following what is happening. Matty H, good morning, good morning, good morning. I told Brett yesterday what we're doing in here. So hopefully he'll pop in. We have Australian dollar. So I was really wrong about what I expected to happen with the monetary policy meeting minutes. They actually, I thought they were going to be supportive of being on hold for a while, and they were pretty dovish, and they said that as soon as February, there's possibility we could receive another cut from the Australian Central Bank, and this is definitely being priced in here. We've broken down into this channel. What does this look like? Let's take a look, dig a little deeper. Still looks pretty good. Okay, we're in an uptrend. We have this support down here to lean off of, and this support line over here. If we get below both of these supports, you can see the true trend will also have turned negative. That's when I will get negative the pair. Step back a little bit. You can see here, this is pretty strong support down here. This was resistance, resistance, support. All right, so if we get below this lower trend line here and this support here, I definitely turn pretty bearish on this pair. But right now I'm still bullish. This looks good. We got some minor support right now that is holding on up here. And the true trend is positive. Entry CCI is ready for another pullback. I'm not going to look to take a long here right into this resistance. We've got to extend this trend line over here. You have this trend line right here. You got this. This was a little resistance right over there, but it's not too much. And then you got further resistance right here. So I'm not looking to go long here, but I'm not bearish yet. This is still holding above support lines in a positive trend and is overall still bullish. Alberto, good morning, everybody. Back to the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. So this is looking healthier than the Australian dollar, US dollar at the moment. You can see we're still holding above the trend line over here. And wait, I just want to go back to the Australian dollar for a minute. That means we've broken so far back below this year-long trend line. That's pretty bearish. Again, I'm still giving it a little bit of time to see if this lower trend line support holds over here and this support here overholds. This should be even darker. But I am noting that we're now below that year-long trend line. We haven't closed there yet, right? This is the daily. So in order for that to be a break, we need to close today during this session below that trend line. But right now we're trading below it. And that looks like it could be a failed breakout, and definitely duly noted. All right, back to the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. This one is so far holding above the trend line breakout. There it is. And we're holding above. We got this support in over here that's holding up. So this is definitely more bullish. We knew that the Japanese yen was weaker than the US dollar. And again, this looks like if this works out where the timing works in your favor, and again, for me, that would have to be during London making a higher high. And there's the possibility of getting back into this trade to the long side because everything is still in place structurally. We're still above the supports. You're still have an opportunity here with the entry CCI pulled back. So everything looks pretty good here on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. We haven't looked at the euro this morning. Wow, 12 minutes in, we are blowing through it, making some good progress. So we're still seeing, let me jump down here. I want to get a better look on the lower time frame because we're still above our support here, our trend line support, and we're below this resistance. So yesterday we put in a price bar that, oh, this is an 8 hour. Let me look on the daily. All right, so we just made a higher high, hasn't held. It's trading down below yesterday's high, still above yesterday's close. Looks pretty good, looks bullish, but this resistance so far is in place above and this trend line. So we're narrowing down. All right, the ranges are narrowing until we're going to break to the upside or downside. I have my line in place, this trend line, to know that the bullish trend remains intact. And then got the resistance up here. This is just no man's land. It's sideways. There's no edge either way. There's no edge either way on the euro, US dollar. So far, the only thing offering any type of tradable setup for me is the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, and gold. Although I'm not looking to trade it, gold looks pretty good here. Looks like we're getting rejected at this resistance, and we could be heading down. If you're very short time minded, you might have a possible entry here this morning in New York, and just be aware, risk reward is only okay, not too bad. The definitely is great. The reward is greater than the risk. I'll keep my eye on it. And that's on the daily. You said yesterday, euro is being held down by the 200. I'm looking at this resistance, which is coinciding with the same place. And sometimes when the 200-day comes into play, if you break through to, often price spikes through and then comes back down. Sorry, I was taking a sip of Morning Joe there, some coffee. I think I read this morning that the euro is the strongest currency. No, that can't be right because it's not really doing anything. Yeah, euro is the strongest, and the pound is the weakest. Well, it's not too strong yet. We have about 15 minutes to U.S. equities open. DXY is trading at resistance. Nothing on the calendar. your guess is as good as mine. Anyone's guess is as good as mine. I don't really see any type of flow here happening this morning. Of course, you have the weak pound, and catching a falling knife is tough. Definitely don't want to be buying that, although it is bullish, right? So careful over there. What happens if this reverses overnight? Do you go long? Again, discretionary. I'm trading away from it. I do trade the pound, US dollar, and pound Japanese yen automated. And if these things do turn around, I'm on the buy side right now on both of them. And if they do turn around here and make higher highs during London, yeah, I'll be in them to the long side. But discretionary wise, I'm not trading them. I'm standing on the sidelines because it's unclear. It's just unclear for me. What's going on? US dollar, Japanese yen is just stuck. So you could see that the DXY is at resistance. Here, the US dollar, Japanese yen is over here at resistance. I mean, this looks pretty good here, and we might get the push above this resistance, or we'll get rejected, but it looks pretty good here. If you get rejected to the downside, definitely not looking to trade that. What I would be looking to see if price came down and rested and tested the support down here or down here. And if one of these two supports held and resume up, then there's a possibility of getting long the US dollar, Japanese yen. But that would be unfolding later in the week and not yet. Still right now, that's on pause. Seeing some further downside right here now on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Ofo, good morning. Glad you're here to join us. Ooh. US dollar, Canadian dollar. Wait, let's check in with oil really quick before we get into the US dollar, Canadian dollar. And oil is extending its gains here. Looks like she's leaning towards a breakout, but still too soon to call it one. Coming right now up into resistance. She's getting close. All right, back to the US dollar, Canadian dollar. Where's she at? All right, this resistance she's being rejected earlier. Canadian dollar showing a little bit of strength this morning. Let's look on the lower time frame. All right, so this should be resistance right now. Price is being rejected off that resistance and coming down here. This looks good in the downtrend is pretty intact, and the entry CCI is pulled back. We could be getting a possible sell here and during this session if the US dollar is rejected over there on the DXY. This looks pretty good. This looks pretty promising. I'm going to go ahead and actually just take a quick moment, and I'm going to set some orders here that might trigger during this New York session. All right, let's keep going. Euro US dollar. Euro's the strongest. Japanese yen is kind of mixed today, I would say. And this is just kind of hanging out, consolidating. Um, Again, the entries was all the way down here. I avoided it coming into the resistance. And then once it broke through this resistance, it's really kind of been just off to the races. And right here, there's no play for me. We're in no man's land, and I'm waiting for a pullback. You can see the entry CCI has been extended for a little while now. So I would expect a pullback here. I would definitely not be chasing this to the upside, and you just got to wait it out. There were some messages up there that were just being held from Blair. Go ahead up in the chat, and those messages were posted now. I have no control over that. Sorry about that. I'm gonna work on putting. I'm gonna have to learn how to do it, but I'm gonna work on being able to put the chat kind of overlaid into the live stream where we have the quotes on the right. I think that will be helpful. But make sure you check those out, OFO. And you want to check out the Swiss franc, Japanese yen. Let's take a look. Let's take a look on the daily first. Before I click on it, I have no idea what's happening here because we're looking at two pairs that are pretty weak. So this is like a battle. Oh, this looks pretty clear. Wow. You're really up into some resistance right now on the Swiss franc, Japanese yen. This was clearly a beautiful breakout. I'm surprised by this, but maybe I shouldn't be, being that the yen has been so weak lately. But if we look on, for example, when we just looked at the euro Japanese yen, we saw that the euro has been extended versus the Japanese yen for quite a while, overbought against it. And that means that the yen could be due for a pullback. Over here, you're at some pretty heavy resistance, right? And prices traded really strong going into it. Whether or not it could continue, I don't know. Look at the entry CCI. It's been overbought for a while. Now, when things are overbought, they can remain overbought for quite a while, right? Some, either overbought turns to oversold quickly, or they could remain. Right now, you're remaining. So this move could continue to extend up, but I would be looking to take profits here if you were long, and you shouldn't be short. But over here, if you were aggressive counter trend trader, you could be looking for shorts here now. I'd jump down to the 8-hour, and even on the 8-hour, the entry CCI has been extended for a long time. The true trend is really also showing high levels. You're at that heavy resistance, and if price were to go ahead and start making lower lows, then you know where your stop is. And again, it's counter trend. I would be quick to take profits into any type of counter trend move, but you're up near resistance right now. Good pair. Thanks for sharing that. Maria, good morning. Let's keep it going. We're now looking at, let's look at the pound pairs just to review them really quick. This is pretty beautiful to see. Only if you just the simple trend line over here, and you could see each time we came back up, it's held as resistance, and it just looks nice. But again, so I'm avoiding discretionary all pound pairs. I avoid adverse market conditions. Look to only take trades when things are clear, and things are a bit jumpy right now on the pound, right? Rightfully so. But things are not very clear and things are very volatile. Day traders should be focused over here for sure on the pound, especially with this type of movement. It's a gift today for anyone who's short time frame minded to be looking over at the pound pairs today. Look at this. Oh, again, same thing we looked at just now on the British pound Canadian dollar. We saw this simple trend line being respected and held. Here you could see it on the euro pound, and you can see that when price spiked below here, the trend line held. Price didn't close below it. And then look at this bounce now. Blew through this support over here. This resistance, I should say. I want to see what that looks like on a lower time frame. That's pretty nice to see also. I was looking down over here, right? Yesterday, if price made a lower low to get back in towards that trend resumption, that never happened. Price never made the lower low here. And once that resistance was taken out, price came back, price traded up, spiked up, came back down and tested the broken resistance, which is now support, and traded up. So that's just beautiful, beautiful technical analysis there. Everything trading textbook. And it's beautiful to watch and to see. And now you're here back up towards this resistance. Which is holding nicely. You get above, if we take out this resistance here to the upside, and it looks like she has more room to go. Really nice to look at. That's a pleasure to look at. All right, so here I am on the Euro Swiss franc, and I don't see anything, which means we're just, this is not something I even want to look at. There's no edge here. This is just pretty much sideways trading. Oh, look, it's even like, it doesn't even have a color. Perfectly avoid. All right, so this spike up over here we had, I believe, I forgot what day that was on. It was a few days ago. Maybe it was Thursday. And you could see price close below our resistance over there and has since traded down. You're trading down at definitely some support right now. And it's a question of whether or not that's going to hold. Still avoidable though. I don't see any type of edge. It seems to be across the board on the Swiss franc, except for against the Japanese yen. That was trending nicely and beautiful. This is interesting. We might look at this. This is the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. And we are now trading back down against the support level. So this becomes tradable either way right now. This looks good. If this support holds over here, if this support holds, you could have some re-entry criteria, again, as early as London on this pair. So that looks good. Adversely, if you break down throughout this trend line over here, at that point, it's time to get long the Canadian dollar, to get short Australian dollar versus the Canadian dollar. And with the next support being all the way down here at 0.8925. So let's draw that in, and just in case we come up to trade along there. So that's good. Euro Australian dollar is trading also right now at some resistance. You get above here on the Australian dollar and this becomes tradable. Break above this resistance, and then You could even have, let's look at that on the 8-hour. Raj, if you're looking, if you have a small amount of money that you're looking to start trading with, then you should use a cent account, because a cent account allows you the possibility to use the money management you need to trade successfully with. So two things. First of all, if you're just starting out trading, really go ahead and take a look at this Forex beginner's guide, this easy and profitable trading strategy. All right, start here. This is all you need to trade profitably. All right. More importantly, you'll learn how a successful system works, the money management needed. Use a cent account. All right. If you're trading with a small amount of money, use a cent account. You could use, if you use Oanda FX Trade, which you can't use MetaTrader 4 for, but you could use their platform for, or you could trade directly through TradingView with that. You could connect it to TradingView through over here. It says connect your, you click paper trading first, and then you could connect the real broker. And then you could trade directly here through TradingView. And that's FX Trade as a cent account. There's information about that here in this video, towards the beginning, which explains that. And there are other cent account brokers that use MetaTrader 4, such as Robo4FX, I believe it is, but just Google cent account Forex. If you're using a small amount of money, for example, $100, $200, $300, use a cent account. Because even like FX Choice doesn't have a minimum amount per se. You could use, but if you're trading less than $1,000, I recommend using a cent account. It's really important to have correct position sizes. You have position size calculators, like on MyFX Book. Just go down here, look for the Forex calculator, and then put in your account size, put in the risk to ratio, put in the stop loss, and then you'll get down here what size position you should be using. All right. And make sure you're not risking more than 1% on a trade or less. So back to the euro Australian dollar. If we do break above this resistance here, this pair definitely becomes in play. I'll be looking then for the long sides after we see some type of pullback and test of the broken resistance if it breaks and holding at support. But I'm bringing this up to the top of the list here to watch this one. Raj, good morning from across the pond. Let's see where we are. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. Raj, it looks like you guys are getting out of the EU. And I think long term, this is going to be really supportive of the pound. I think once they get out of the EU, hopefully there's a sell-off on the pound, because that would be a really, really good buying opportunity. If it comes down a couple of cents. And, there's always the possibility that the market gets ahead of that and understands that and knows that. And then you don't even get that sell off on the pound if they're leaving the EU, because the market's actually a lot smarter. Here's the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. It's trading up near some resistance right now. Also, it's kind of right now stalling out. Not that this can't continue to the upside. What I would do here is a couple of things. First of all, this is support. Let's keep this updated. We're at resistance right now. This is important to draw in. If this breaks to the upside, that becomes really good, because if this breaks out to the upside, again, just wait for that pullback and test of that broken resistance. If the support holds and we resume upwards, it's time to get long the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, and that looks really good. This is really good. All right, but not yet. Right now, there's a good chance we see this resistance hold. And again, if we trade all the way down where my mouse is right here, this is the closest support level, and there's a good possibility that holds. I will not look to take a long off of that. I'll look to take a long above this resistance over here. But if we get down towards this support down here, that's when I would begin looking for a long off of support. I do want to draw this in. This looks nice now, the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. Suddenly my attention is focused here. All right, so again, the nearest support is down here. If we're rejected by this resistance, this should be on the 8 hour. Let's go down to the 8 hour now. If we get above this resistance and then it's tested back and holds as support, I'm long on the resumption upwards. If we come down into this support down here, I'm still going to stay on the sidelines and wait for us to get above this resistance up here. If we come back down to this heavy support and resume off it, I'll be looking to take a long. All right, so that looks good. There's a lot going on, the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, but not on the euro, right? Euro, Japanese yen, let me just take a quick look. Yeah, I prefer the Canadian dollar in this situation. I have to take actually screenshots of all these childhood memories, and I know Forex would really appreciate them. Actually, he was involved in that episode. You want to take a look at New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. Wow, she's really come off in the last few days. What is this? I think we should be looking at the daily. This looks a little jumpy to me. It looks a little cleaner. And so again, what you're looking at here right now, and this is a pretty important place to be looking at the New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, is this trend line right here. You have to see today at the close of New York whether or not it holds as support or not. Okay, that's really important. It's the close. You could not the wicks down here. That's why you wait for the close to see if the support or resistance has held. And right now it's currently trading below it. Okay, but again, you're waiting for that close to give a better look. If you get back down into this channel below this trend line and the close below it, there's a lot of room to the support, and there's solid support down here off of this trend line and off of this support right here. So I would say that if you're involved in New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc, and today you get a close below this trend line, that it's time to get out, stay on the sidelines, and wait till you get back above this trend line to look to the long side again. We'll wait to see if you get down closer towards this support and then look to buy off of that support. As far as looking at selling between here and here, not me. That's not my style. Look down on the 8 hour. Yeah, I would look to buy off of this support down here if we come down and test it, rather than look for that small little scalp that's counter trend, although it seems to be in a falling trend right now. But that's it. It's really kind of really on the watch list right now. You need to watch how this develops. Thanks for bringing that up. I'm glad I got to look at this right now. But we need to see where we close today in New York. So towards the, right around the London close, we'll come back and take a look at this one. That's a good point. You got wrecked. And then that brings us to, we already looked at that, New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. New Zealand dollar is holding up much stronger against the yen than against the Swiss franc. And also, just to look back at that really quick, look at the difference between the Swiss franc and the Japanese yen. The Swiss franc is just really crushing the Japanese yen. So we know the central bank, Swiss central bank, met last week. As far as I was concerned, I thought they said something to the effect of that in the future they could still lower rates, although they're not looking to right now. Don't quote me on that. I'm not certain. That's just what's in my head. So looking here at the New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen, what do you see looking at it? Where are some supports? I'm going to draw in a support line down here. And if you come down and test the support down here, that looks like a possible place. If we resume off it, it holds for a re-entry in a strong uptrend, right? So you got your next support down here, and this looks pretty solid. Nothing to adjust here if anyone's in a position trade on the New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen, but nothing looks tradable right now. There we go. I like how we're doing this today. Putting things that look active right here in purple. Greens are the closest watched, and yellows are neutral. This just looks good. Loved looking at that this morning. All right. So let's review whatever's going on that's purple. So far this morning we have gold. Wait, before we do that, let's take a quick look at the DXY. Let's see what the dollar index is doing. And the dollar index is currently just playing with this resistance right over here. It's really just at resistance, coming off a tiny bit. Gold is being rejected this morning by this resistance. Again, the stronger resistance that is in play, because you see this red line here, although it goes back pretty far. Here and here. It's not until we clear this line up here that the longs look attractive. There's a lot of overhead resistance in play on gold. The reason that we have it on the active watch list is because you're being rejected here by this resistance. If price makes a lower low, there is a possible short there. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen looks good. This looks good because if we're at a critical resistance here, if we get above it, I'm going to be looking long for sure on any retrace of the broken resistance. If it holds a support going upwards, nothing developing yet, but I want to keep a close eye on this one and see what happens. Australian dollar, Japanese yen looking very, very weak this morning, but still above these two supports. This looks like during London, as long as these two supports are holding and we make a higher high, this looks like an entry here to the upside. If you're not in it, I'm still holding mine with my stops below. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar is in play. You see this resistance, the support down here is currently holding. And again, this would be during London, an active trade. If you're able to go ahead and make a higher high than the previous price bar, that means this pattern would be holding. You have a nice room to the upside here before looking at taking profits. Adversely, if we break down, if this trend line here, if this support breaks, there's a nice trade to the downside as well. So this pair, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, has now become active. And US dollar, Canadian dollar is being rejected here this morning by this resistance. This resistance right over here. You got some nice overhead resistance just above that. And if price makes a lower low during New York, right here during the session we're in, as long as it's not between 12 and 2 Eastern time, then I'm looking to get involved here to the short side. I have orders placed right now. And that is an overview of what we have going on this morning. We have 15 minutes we've already been in. We covered a lot in those 45 minutes. I always say you only need about 15, 20 minutes to get a real close overview of the market. Today, I would say that's 45 minutes. Hanero, good morning. For a good cent account, I would use Alanda. I have to do other research, but off the top of my head, if that's what you're looking for, the leverage is light. It's 1 to 50. That's all you need. That's plenty of leverage. Before you do that, though, seriously, watch this video. Go find it under, on the channel off of popular videos, and go ahead before you do anything else and watch this video. And then after you watch this video, then you will be clear on what you need to do. Hanero, are you focused in over on the pound pairs? They are moving quite aggressively today. Seeing big moves on the pound. What is anyone looking to look at? Anything you guys want to take a look at? Anything you guys want to discuss? Now's the perfect time. Please let me know what pairs you are interested in for us to take another look at. She just caught my eye. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. She's coming up to some pretty important areas right here. I don't really know what to say on Bitcoin other than she's coming to a pretty precarious area, and she really needs to hold. Otherwise, you could see some follow through, right, to really low levels. You could be looking at 5,600. I want to put that in there. If price traded down to 5,600, this would be trading outside my model. This will be trading outside of my model of what I expect, where I expect Bitcoin to be, but it would not be trading outside the stock to flow model. That right now, I believe the stock to flow model has Bitcoin trading at 5,900. So wish I could pull up. I could pull up something to show you that. Let's see. Well, I'm not going to be able to find it. It was something I saw last night, and it was an update. Um, and again, if we trade down here, we're definitely trading below my model and where I perceive price to be. I expect 6,500 to hold. But we would still be trading within the stock to flow model. And that has Bitcoin minimally trading at $55,000 per Bitcoin in by 2021. I just want to just give a big thanks to whoever was kind enough to spread that thumbs down, because I have to be honest, you just need a little bit of love. You know, you've clearly been wounded in your life and you're lacking in love. And I'm sorry for whoever hurt you, because that's just plain silly. There's zero reason to give a thumbs down. So I see that you're looking for attention. I get that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if your mommy or daddy didn't treat you well, you know, but I'm glad you're here with us nevertheless. And that's kind of funny. So thank you. I guess what I'm trying to say is that means nothing. So what do you guys want to move on to? I have a strong look here at the markets here with you this morning. I think it was actually our best session for discerning what's going on. And I have a pretty solid overview of my game plan now for the next 12 hours or so. So we can now take a look together at anything anyone wants to take a look at or discuss or need some clarity on. Let's take a look at the pound Australian dollar. All right, so pound pairs in general, I think that your best bet, unless you're really short-term minded, if you're day trading, if you're scalping, you want to be focused on any and all pound pairs right now. But outside of that, I don't think for discretionary trading, we have some solid setups that are developing here, and they're clearer when markets are uncertain, and the pound is uncertain right now. Look at these huge moves it's had in the past 3 days. Past 4 days, I've seen enormous moves on the pound. So the market is uncertain. When the market is uncertain or clear, it is best to avoid it. I know that you think, well, this is really volatile, so I can make money in it. Where you could lose a lot of money in it as well. And it's just not the place to be. Any of the pound pairs, for me, avoid uncertain markets and trade where there's clarity. It's really important. So it's hard to tell what's going on with the pound Australian dollar because it's in an uptrend, right? It's in a clear uptrend. If you're picking tops, you know, that's tough, right? Let's look on the 8-hour. I would have support down here at 1.9166, right around there, 1.916. And that's the key level you have to be looking for. As long as you stay above there, you're definitely very bullish. We have below there, then you could take a look down all the way down to 0.8926. I'll draw those levels in. Those are pretty clear. They got two support levels to focus in on. Above them, you're really extraordinarily bullish. But again, pound pairs are very uncertain right now. Avoid uncertain markets and stick where there is clarity. Oh, for me, God bless you too. Yeah, we're just happy to help and build each other up. No problem at all. I do, again, I strongly recommend trading this system. Since this was released on October 30th, since we released it, I've taken all trades in real time to kind of give everyone a guide on this account. The account's up 4.5%. This is all you need to trade profitably, especially if you're working a full-time job and you only have 5-10 minutes a day to start here. Just start here. This is a better education than you'll get anywhere else, and it's all free. Start here. Australian dollar, Japanese yen. This is in play. This looks. I'm still long. I'm from the on this pair right here. We're above support, and we're above this trendline support now. Blair made the better trade, taking profit here yesterday at the close of London. Much better position to be on, taking that profit and on the side now. But here's the deal. If you're not in this trade and you're looking to get in this trade, as technically it's holding up pretty well above this trend line support, this year long breakout, and above this support down here around 74, 78, 77, this green line over here. I would wait to see if during London you make a higher high than the previous 8-hour price bar than during Asia session to get back into that trade to get long. But this looks good. This is holding up above these two support levels. Everything about it, the screaming our criteria. You have the true trend in a strong uptrend. Entry CCI not pulled back, letting you know that you're not chasing momentum. So this trade looks good. As far as on the 1 hour, you know, the 1 hour doesn't give any type of advantage over the 8-hour. It's just really choppy, right? So I find that it's much easier, much easier. And when I say easier, it's that you're going to find that you're able to be more profitable trading on the higher time frame than the lower time frame when it comes to Forex. And aside from that, like, then you don't need to be stuck at the screen forever. A lot of us got into trading for freedom, right? For financial freedom, for freedom of time. And if you're stuck trading down on the 1 hour time frame, that's really difficult. 1 hour time frame is difficult to trade. I don't see I don't see clarity down here to tell you off the 1 hour where you should be looking. But I can tell you time of day that you want to be trading, right? And you have a couple more hours to be looking for entries during New York. And then you want to avoid the next couple of hours, no entries between 12 and 2, New York Eastern time. And then the last 2 hours are good to trade. But Australian dollar, Japanese yen looks good to the long side, and it's holding above these supports pretty well. And yeah, I'm just glad you're here. You're not late. You have the replay. There's a really good crushing 45 minutes that we started this off with, and you're not late. You know, the internet's awesome. You could just go ahead and watch it in your own time and your own speed. Blair, yes, we have the 8. Go into the description of the video we're watching right now and just scroll down so you see that MT4 tutorial video, and that will teach you how to set up charts with the indicator, the period converter onto MetaTrader, so you could view the 8-hour time frame on MetaTrader. Amir, think in percentage. Think in percentage, not in dollars. All right. We'll get back to that in a second. First, let's take a look at the euro US dollar. And then we'll look at thinking in percentage, not dollars. You don't want to think in dollars as a trader. So 110, 111. Okay, Wilford, now I'm on the same page as you. Let's just do a top-down overview again of the euro US dollar. I have this backwards today with the daily on the right, but this is what I'm doing right now. So two things. The first thing we know starting on the daily time frame is that right now the euro is trading below this resistance, right? This resistance is so far holding up here. You get above this resistance, Wilford, then we're looking to buy, especially once price comes down and tests that broken resistance. Once you see that the support held, broken resistance becomes support. Once that support held, and then on the 8-hour, you start making a higher high, right? Either during London or New York. That's a beautiful entry. But why we're below it, we have this support, this trend line. I'm going to go back to the 8-hour now. So you could see that trend line support holding. So you right now, you're no man's land in the middle of this resistance and this support. So there's no edge. You're in no man's land. That's why we have this marked as yellow. We're just waiting and watching. It's neutral, red light, green light, yellow, caution. And then if we do break below this trend line, Wilford, you have that support right below it that you were talking about, right in that area you were mentioning. And that's where you would want to look for support to hold. And if that support holds, then you will be looking to go long if price resumes upwards off of that support. You're in a strong uptrend over here. This looks pretty solid. There's a chance that we could take out this resistance pretty soon. If you break this trend line, I wouldn't sell because you don't have a good risk for reward at all until you come into this support. Below, if this support doesn't hold, then we're going to be getting short. Okay, so if you're gearing off this line, Wilford, this is where you're looking for support to hold and buy off of. And also this resistance, if you get above it, then you're looking for that to hold as support to buy off of. Amir, I'm just gonna really, kindly caution you, just hold back a little bit right now. You're coming in here asking a lot of hot questions with no idea of what's going on, and I would like to offer you the opportunity to help you understand what's going on, to help you learn how to see the market and trade the market, and do that in a way where you're going to be successful. All right, and if you're willing to do that, then all it takes is a little bit of work and effort on your end, and patient, and actually less effort than you're making right now going the approach you're using. So before anything else, and again, I'm going to start off kindly and gently giving you the opportunity here to help you. It's up to you what happens. But if you are interested, you could watch this video, go into the channel, click on Conquer Trading and Investing, go under popular videos, find this video. Very easy and profitable trading strategy. It works. And go ahead and watch this video and start here. Okay, that's what you need to do. If you're willing to take those steps, I'll help you further. So that's a good look, Wilford, at the euro US dollar. And So I'm not sure what you mean the price is not accurate. Is the price moving in real time on those 8-hour charts, Wilford? Is the price actually, are you seeing the quotes move on the 8-hour chart? It says offline, but as long as the 1-hour chart is open next side to it, it should be updating in real time. Let me know if that's moving or not. If you're seeing the 8-hour charts, the price quote move. I'm looking to get short here if we make a lower low sometime this morning on the Canadian dollar, US dollar. I think the focus of today, really important, and it's this quote: avoid adverse market conditions and only take trades when things are clear. This is, see, the thing about trading is that you want to be successful. It's a long-term thing. It's a marathon. You have to have that long-term mindset. And just because you see a lot of action going on the pound today, yeah, if you're short term, if you're a scalper and a day trader, of course that's where you're focused. But it's extraordinarily difficult to make money that way. You have to realize that it's extraordinarily difficult, especially in Forex, to make money scalping. Period. It's not the market for scalping. All right, go scalp the futures. That's the market for scalping. But you better be the best of the best, otherwise you're going to get killed. This is an uncertain market. Look at these moves that it's seen: 2.5% to the upside, 2.5% to the downside. It's squirrely. It's not clear. You don't want to be involved in it. All right, and it's really important to recognize that. All right, so Amir, what you're looking at on the red lines and green lines, red is resistance, all right, and green is support. Amir, before you go any further, I would really like to help you. I will not go any further helping you unless you watch this video first, because this is where you need to begin. All right, just go to the channel under popular videos, find this video and watch this video. Stay with us now. Just don't ask questions during this session, because you're gonna continue learning. And all you need is a few sessions, Amir, to learn with us. All right. You could also go back and watch the replays of our live streams, and you're going to learn real quick. All right. But in this moment of time, you will learn more from listening and watching. Okay. And then as you begin to learn more, then you'll have appropriate questions to ask. They're going to help you go further. King, you did miss a lot this morning. The first 45 minutes of the live stream are phenomenal. We went over everything. And I highly recommend that. These pairs over here in the purple are what are being watched today that are really active. or about close to setting up to being active, and focus in on those. Let's take a look again at the Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. I didn't get back into trading in the zone yet. On the way home on the airplane, which is a really good time to read, I opened it up and I started flipping around real quick. But vacations are a thing, and I just took there was actually this really good documentary on Bitcoin that I watched. So I didn't really, it was just the time to kind of lay back a moment. I got vacation coming up though, Christmas, and be a good time to sit down with some books. So DJ, good job first of all on having that order in, even if it doesn't get filled, you're not chasing after things. What were you looking at though? All right, so I'm just going to give you, I'm interested, DJ, to know what you see. If you could share a chart with any annotations you have, that's really good. I'm assuming that you might have been buying off of some support down here, right? This is what I'm assuming, that you were looking and you saw support down here. You were looking to catch a bottom and you were buying off of that support. See that? I mean, is that where you're at, DJ? Was your entry level below, like was your limit order like a buy limit around 1.0403? And you just missed the fill? That's outside my wheelhouse. I don't look to catch bottoms or sell top. You notice I avoid always the bottoms and the tops. And how I would play this, DJ, is I personally would be looking to see if price broke down here. If price broke down through this support, let me draw this support in. Hold on. All right, if price breaks down below that support, what I would then do is I would look for the retest of that broken support to be resistance. And if the resistance held, price started making lower lows, I would get short. That's how I would try. I would wait for the breakdown. If the support broke down, I would wait for the retest. It would be nice because I have this trend line, which would also be resistance. And this resistance, this broken support be resistance. And then price starts making lower lows. And that's gravy. That's a great trade for me. As far as I think what you're looking at here is trying to buy this bottom over here. And I can't, it's outside my wheelhouse. I mean, more, and I appreciate that, and it's a pleasure to be working with you. And Amir, really, like, don't take my kindness for granted. I'm trying to give you like a really quick heads up. I'm really happy to help you, but at the same time, I'm also, this is my place to work with others. There'll be no problem if you're not really going to jump into the flow with us and then just going to repeatedly ask questions when you have no idea what's going on. That won't go on for too long. So, this is probably the best place you will ever find to learn what you need to learn. So do some watching, do some listening, and find out what it is we're doing, and then go ahead and ask some questions. But don't continue to ask questions without know what's going on like that, especially after I took some time out of our live stream here to kind of give you clear direction on what you need to do. All right, so it's up to you. So just thinking about Bitcoin here also, is this the last Friday of the month or is it next? All right. So the futures would not be expiring, I assume, to the 27th of December, the last Friday of the month. I'm not exactly clear on that, so I'm not gonna speak at this. But normally you see some selling going into the expiration of the futures. I was just curious of whether or not that was in play right now. It doesn't seem to be. We didn't look at silver yet today. Silver also is just so far being rejected by this lower trend line resistance. Yeah, I agree with that. I've mentioned that a couple of times, and you know what? No one's ever kind of affirmed that. I really think that that would be awesome. I'm glad you said that. Um, I think so. Some nice like down tempo music would be really good in the background. Expect it would be really cool if you could have like in the chat thumbs up. Thumbs up that U.S. indices are barely up today. They're still putting in some gains. I'm looking for oil here. Yeah. So quick question. I don't. Well, how does this look? The blue compared to the gray, or both those are dark? Huh. I don't think so. EuroCAD. Just 1 second. So I'm curious if that looks better or worse right now. All right, Wilford. I think I know what problem you're having. It's in the properties of the indicator. I think it's best though if you just go ahead and shoot me an email, and then I'll respond to it once we finish with the live stream. I'm pretty sure I know what needs to be checked off inside the EA properties. It's shown in the video if you watch the video again when I attach the period converter indicator. But if you shoot me an email, I'll help you figure that out. Your Canadian dollar is a little tough for me. What are you looking at, Blair? I'm looking at, we're kind of caught in this congestion zone over here, and we still are holding within it. I am seeing though these lower highs developing. Is that series of lower highs? And then also adversely, we're seeing these all the way down here, these series of lower highs, higher lows, excuse me, higher lows here and lower highs up here. So that's what I see here on the Euro Canadian dollar. And more than that, I'm seeing that we're caught within the middle of that zone over here. So I think sometime in the future, we might be coming to some type of resolution on this. But right here, right now, I have us in complete no man's land. Awesome. I went back to what we were using. I just wanted to give a quick look and check it out just to make sure. And you know, these colors seem to go really well on my eyes, and I hope so also on the other end as well. Yeah, Wilford, that's a really good thing to do. I would go as far as going into the data history, deleting that too. If you're having problems with MetaTrader 4, I would definitely suggest going in also into the data, deleting the data, the history. Is there a trick in Oanda for setting up? If you're using Oanda MetaTrader 4, it's the same as anything else. 1 second. All right, when you're adding the period converter to the 1 hour chart, make sure that you have allow DLL imports checked off. This is really important. I think this is where you're having the issue. Both of you. So go back, reattach the period converter indicator to the 1 hour chart, and make sure you have the allowed DLL imports also checked off. I think that will solve the problem. Go ahead and check that out. So when you're setting up those the 8 hour charts on MetaTrader 4, you just need to have the 1 hour and 8 hour chart open for the pair you're looking at. All right, the 8 hour chart will not update in real time without that 1 hour chart with the period converter attached to it. And then if you wanted to open up, for example, a 4 hour chart, just open up another chart of the same pair and you could look at whatever time frame, whether it's 5 minutes, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 4 hours on it, and that won't affect the 1 hour and the 8 hour charts that are updating. It's separate. I have an entry here on the US dollar, Canadian dollar now. So I want to make a mental note here. I do like the idea of just having some type of background music for when there's the pauses of silence and downtime, which are also important. Hanero, that's how I do it. I do look at the trading view charts. This is how I do all my analysis because it's just they're good charts, right? They're awesome. But I place all my trades on MetaTrader 4. I can't imagine why every single MetaTrader 4 broker would not allow trades to be executed directly through TradingView. Nevertheless, I would still be trading off of MetaTrader 4 though because of the ability to use their MQL4 programming language. Okay, so Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, we're seeing the Canadian dollar show some strength. If we get above this resistance here, if we close above it today, this brings up a possible, I'll be looking for it to go long here, not on the break of this resistance. And you see the entry CCI is way pulled back on the first pullback of this. On the first pullback below zero against the trend of the entry CCI, we will be then hopefully into this holding as support if this continues to break out to the upside. Also, if anyone is having trouble later in the day setting up the 8 hour charts, just go to the video. It's in the description here of the MT4 tutorial for setting up those charts, and just add a comment to that video of what problem you're having. And then, I'll respond timely to that. And then we also have it on the record to help other people. Yeah, Wilford. Definitely. You could also at any time go back to the replay of this video or even during the live stream, pull back the live stream, and you could see all of the support and resistance levels. If there's any particular pairs that you're looking at and you want to see, let me know. Let's see the majors on the list. We have the US dollar, Canadian dollar. We have the US dollar, Japanese yen. There's a gap up here. Did you ever notice that? Pound, US dollar. Some wide ranges in there. Euro, US dollar. I think on the 8-hour, you get a good look at the Euro US dollar right now also. Boris, I generally I trade about 3 trades a week, but trades come in waves. And you'll find that when the market sets up, and because it makes sense, you have multiple pairs trading versus the US dollar, and all these pairs have correlations that when the market sets up, when things are trading, whether they're headed towards resistance or support, it's happening on multiple pairs. So you have to decide which of those pairs you want to take. You're not taking all of them. You're not taking all setups. You're actually being very choosy about the setups you take. You're taking ones that offer clarity and seem to be offering the best opportunity. It's not just take every setup every time you have criteria. We'd be trading all day long, all the time. You want to wait for the setup to come to you. For example, here on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, if you're not in this trade right now, you have trade criteria, multiple. You have the uptrend. You have the entry CCI pullback in that uptrend. You're above this trend line support, and you're now off of this support, right? So this is a good area to look for an entry. Not just yet, though. You have time because you have to make a higher high than the previous price bar for that entry to occur. So that's not going to happen here during New York. Avoid Asia. I always avoid Asia. I have these, you know what? And this is what I'm going to be doing during this vacation, because I'm not going to be trading. Because I'm going to work on having these rules, not these rules, these guidelines written out and laid out for everyone. I was working on that actually yesterday afternoon, and I'll continue to do that. But I generally take about 3 trades a week, and that's more than enough. I find that the less trades you take, the more profitable you be. You have to be choosy about your setups. You have to be smart about your trading. Over trading leads to losses. Ofo, I enjoyed you here today. Appreciate you, and I thank you. Have a great day. So right now I have open a Australian dollar Japanese yen trade, and now also a US dollar Canadian dollar. That's 2 open trades. For example, example, I see a short here developing on gold. I'm not going to take it though, right? And the reason I see this developing is price right now is coming up and is being rejected off of this resistance over here and is now coming down. It looks like it's going to make a lower low. So the resumption off of the rejection of resistance downward is happening. This is a valid trade setup for me. I'm not going to take it though, because we have this trend line support down here a little lower. So the potential on the trade is not so great. We're in the middle of the box over here. And, you know, I like the US dollar, Canadian dollar here much better. Why? Because there's more downside potential, right? I have this support down here where I'll look lock in my stop loss, see how price reacts. I'm not going to take them both because I don't want to take too many trades at once. And you just have to pick out which trade that you feel. This one is actually in a downtrend, being rejected here off the resistances. Why gold is a short off the resistance, but at the same time, the true trend is up. So I like leaning here to the US dollar, Canadian dollar, where the momentum is. Here I spoke about this morning as we got started on US dollar, Canadian dollar. And so we had, going into London, we had this resistance, which was being rejected, right? This is the resistance we have over here at 0.1382. Price was being rejected by this resistance which it touched during London, was coming down and was probably right about here in New York. I saw that we're in this downtrend and my entry CCI was pulled back. And I said, if price makes a lower low during New York, that's a trade I'll take. And now I'm in it. And as we enter it, we're also getting below this support right over here. It looks good, right? Looks to me that we're going to take a look. We have a possibility of taking a look down here at 0.1312, right? And if we do, that's when I'll make my next assessment of what to do. I got into the Australian dollar, Japanese yen overnight last night. And the reason I took this trade, and my entry is all the way up here. The reason I took this trade was because, again, we were in this uptrend, broke out of this year-long. How do I get that down for you? Broke out of this year-long trend line. We broke up to the upside. I waited on the breakout, came down off of resistance. Now on the 8-hour here, right? I had my supports down over here. When price made a higher high, I took the entry over here. My stop is still below these supports down here. So I'm still into the trade. There's an opportunity for a re-entry possibly overnight tonight on this, because since then price has pulled back. You still have entry criteria right now. It looks really good and strong. And if price during London makes a higher high, it's a safer opportunity to get in. So this is interesting. Also, the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. We have two strong pairs relative to the market, but this pattern is holding up. This triangle we have going on is holding up, and price is now trading off the support of that. So drop down to the 8-hour, right? And again, as long as you get a trigger during the preferred market hours, this is a possible good trade to take, because you know when you're wrong really quick, right? Right here, you have your stop loss in pretty tight. You know you're wrong, and if you're wrong, you wait for a retest of this broken support, and then the resumption downwards, and then we have this to the downside. Breaking out of this pattern could be a very nice trade. There's a lot of opportunities everywhere. There's a lot of opportunities everywhere. Right now, not on the Euro US dollar, though. It's in no man's land. So Blair, I tried to highlight that comment that's really important also, that's got to go into your decision making. We've kind of been talking about how once this big obstacle, the China US trade tensions have kind of been put aside a little bit here, last week, that it benefits risk on. So looking towards the Australian dollar, looking towards a weak yen, looking towards strong Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, strong, appreciating oil prices. Those are trades you want to look towards and lean towards and lean on, because they offer a little bit more clarity when you have, the bigger picture supporting them. I'm going to take a quick pause here, go get a cup of tea. I'll be right back. Hey, Jeff, I know that you from the beginning were, did you guys play this off this resistance up here? Jeff, I know that you were following in the beginning the easy and profitable system. Have you stuck with it? Any update on how that's been working out for you? Yeah, 100%. You could use the true trend on a 30-minute chart. Absolutely. When I do trade the 1 minute, I'm using the true trend. I use the true trend BTC on the 1 minute, but you could definitely use the true trend on any time frame. Hold on a second. Let me catch up. I do not trade divergences. Divergence can be traded 100% for sure. That's the thing about trading. There are a million different things that can be traded. There are a million different variables, and you get to choose which ones you're going to trade. You can make a strategy off of trading divergences alone. I'm trying to look here for the DXY. You say we're seeing some dollar strength coming in. All right. Are there nuances that I trade the true trend? No. No matter what time frame you're trading with the true trend, they're not going to change. The nuances are not going to change from time frame to time frame. The reason I use the true trend BTC with the 333 period on the 1 minute, it's just different. You're trading off the 1 minute. You're not taking any type of, swing or day trade. I mean, it's scalping off the 1 minute. I just want to make sure that I'm on the right side of the trend, and that's very simple. When the true trend is positive, if I want to make sure that if I'm scalping on the 1 minute, that I'm only taking long side trades, and same thing vice versa. It's very rare I do it. It's very rare I do it. It's only during rate decisions, and you're talking several times a year. I see she's extending her losses down about another 0.25% or so. There's, they're all still in pretty strong uptrends, all pound pairs. Basically right back where you started before the election. If you're going to start getting short these pairs, I'd wait to see some technical levels taken out. Here you have support. This should be green. Down here, you have this support along with this trend line support. So that looks like an area you could lean off of. Below that, you could start thinking about getting short here. Right now, I wouldn't. And I wouldn't even be focused here on the pound. I'm not focused on the pound. There's so much opportunity elsewhere right now. And to me, I want to trade where there's clarity. There's a lot of uncertainty right now regarding the pound. But there is opportunity. Hernero, is that what you're trading today? So that's actually a very good question. Difference between the true trend BTC and the regular true trend. And first, I just really want to understand. I'll get to that in 1 second. I want to understand what you got wrecked was saying. I'm focused here on this resistance level here. You're looking at the channel, let's say. So do you have a channel drawn somewhere over here that you're looking at and you're seeing a breakout? If you have that on a chart, could you share us the link? I would love to take a look at it. Even if you have a channel somewhere over here, it looks like you would have it like this. Since I don't have it drawn in, I would be interested to see what yours is. So it's a pretty steep angle. So I'm assuming this is what you're looking at. I don't know for sure. So please confirm that. And if that's the case and you're broken out, I still would wait to get above this resistance here. And you got to wait for the close today to confirm that this is a breakout, not just the spike. Like here was a spike above the channel and it didn't close below, right? So you're waiting for the New York close here to find out whether or not. So I'm not positive that's what you're looking at. And if it is, let me know. I think that's it. As far as the difference between the true trend BTC, yes. So there's a on the channel, there's a video that you could look at for trading Bitcoin, which I trade on the 12-hour with the true trend BTC. Okay. This tells you when to be in Bitcoin and when to be in dollars. For example, this has you short the last crossover here, has you short over here at $8,500, more or less, right? And since then, even the spike up kept you short and just has you in dollars right now. And it's just the easiest way to know what side of the trend to be on when it comes to Bitcoin. For example, the last signal would have got you long at around 4,700, right? And then would have got you short at 8,500. That's almost 100% gain. And of course, you could have taken much greater profits had you taken up here. But the thing is just by staying on the right side of the true trend BTC over the long term, it's going to have you accumulating massive amounts of Bitcoin. Even the top over here, you didn't get out at around 20,000. You didn't get around to 8,500, right? But you were in there and holding that since $250. So rather than worry about riding out all these ups and downs and having to guess what side of the trade to be in, right? It had you in since $250, called it. And instead of having to worry about when to buy and when to sell, you could just know when to hold Bitcoin and just ride these trends and when to be on the sidelines. And the same thing here, you would have been since 7,000 something. This crash, you just would have been on the sidelines, got back in, it's the easiest way to do it. So that's where you want to focus. The only other time I use the true trend BTC, scalping on the 1 minute. And just to avoid confusion, I just wanted to go over that. It's a good question. Euro British pound looks, we looked at that earlier, this is pretty awesome. I think on the daily, you could kind of get a really good look at what has just happened. So we had here, this was a test of resistance, but this was during the election, right? You had this breakdown, taking out these levels. This trend line actually held. This trend line support held over here. Price never closed below it. And then if you look at it on the 8-hour, you can see it came up and tested first the breakdown, and it held as resistance, came back to the trend channel, which held the support again. And then overnight tonight, it blew past that broken resistance, that broken support, which held as resistance there, and then raced up to the next resistance level. So it wasn't on my radar, but this one is beautiful to look at how perfect it is traded. And that's really important for developing your subconscious mind for spotting and being able to trade future setups, is really reviewing trades like this, see how they play out perfect technically, recognize them, and just kind of get your brain just fully aware of the flow. You can see that versus the US dollar a little bit specifically. So probably also it might be coming off heavy versus the Swiss franc. No, that's holding up pretty well still, the Swiss franc. Weak pair today is the Australian dollar. So a strong yen here could be good. So the next 45 minutes should be pretty telling. As we get to the London close, we could see some sharp retracements, and then usually things continue back prior to this hour. So that's my guess is what's going to happen. Although you're seeing, for example, the yen strengthen here. You're seeing the DXY. The dollar was also firming up a little bit here, huh? No, it's coming off again now. This hour of trading is pretty volatile. You see lots of retracements when the London close finally prints. Usually within 10 minutes, then you see things. That's usually a time of day where you see big reversals, especially in the indices. Tomorrow, looking forward on the calendar overnight, you have two CPIs, Canadian dollar and British pound, New Zealand dollar, GDP. I mean, we've seen some pretty big sessions these last few days, going back since last Thursday. I generally look for entries during the London session. Always looking during this session to see how the market's setting up, what's going on. A lot of entries occur during London and early New York. I don't want to sleep on the Euro US dollar. I know we haven't looked at it too much today. It's kind of regaining its footing now. And again, it's in no man's land. It's between these support and resistance here. There's a decent range here. Euro, Australian dollar is trading at this resistance right now. Support is about 150 pips away. That's interesting. Australian dollar is weak today. It's weaker off of the monetary policy meeting minutes last night. I misread. I thought it was going to help firm it up. The central bank was pretty dovish. So, bro, remember, I'm trading off of the 8 hour. Okay, So my signals has to come off of the 8 hour up until London, up until the London close. I am taking any signals. For example, it was sometime during I don't know if it was during this hour or within the last hour, though. I took an entry here on the US dollar, Canadian dollar, as this triggered, right? Between 12 and 2 Eastern time, I will not take any setup. If this would have triggered between 12 and 2, I wouldn't have taken it. I would have stood aside. Okay. But the last 2 hours in New York, I'll take signals that occur then. Those are the only 2 hours I avoid during the New York session over here, between 12 and 2. And signals during London, I look to take. I have to figure out what time those are, Eastern Standard or GMT wise, to share with you. But that's my cheat sheet of what on my automated trading, the time of day that I'm trading. On my discretionary trading, I am definitely taking the last couple of hours in New York. Any trade signals come across, and I guess that's a good place to get it on the website. And I have to convert those times for you. Looks like the Australian dollar is traded back up, and so far is being rejected by this double resistance right here that it fell through tonight, right? So this is the breakdown. You see this trend line support was broken along with this broken support over here, because this was resistance. So once it broke, it became support. It broke these two levels right over there. And now so far is coming up and being tested. And this is holding so far as resistance. All right. So there is a play if this continues to hold through all of New York, through all of Asia, and then reverse, you get an entry during London. There's a potential play there. Or we could regain, this might not even close below this. These may hold after all. You might have had these resistance, this support taken out, but we could close by New York back up above here. That would be pretty bullish. So I wait for the close of the candle to know. We have a couple of things to look at. For example, whether or not this is broken support will be I'll judge that by the close of the candle. On the Euro US dollar over here, like I didn't consider this a breakout as this was happening in real time with you all until we waited for the candle to close, because it has to close above the broken resistance to be a successful breakout of the resistance. And you could see that the hell that didn't come, it came all the way back down. So as far as support and resistance are concerned, over down here, we traded this live. And it looked like price was breaking below the support during the New York session. And we said, hey, wait what happens. And you could see that it never closed below that support. So it was never broken. So that's when I look for the close. As far as entry into the trades, my signal for entry is on the 8-hour, looking for price to make a higher high or a lower low than the previous price bar, depending if I'm buying or selling. You could see that here on the Canadian dollar. So here's I'm right at entry right now. That's my entry. I'm not waiting for price to close. I'm only waiting for price to close, looking at support and resistance levels. Things look pretty quiet right now. That's pretty good. There seems to be a lot setting up in the markets, and there's still a lot of trading to go on during this week. Again, just a lot of uncertainty here. Look how uncertain the pound is. 2.5% rise, and then 2.5% fall. All right. Avoid markets that are showing uncertainty. Go where there's clarity, and there's no clarity here. Yeah, there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential here to the upside and downside, but that's a lot of risk, unnecessary risk. You don't really have an edge. You're gonna make much more money trading with probability and clarity than uncertainty. Now the pull is to go where there is uncertainty and volatility, and that's almost like gambling, and that's where the pull is, and that's what you have to learn to avoid. So hindsight is always very clear. It's always easy looking back, saying what should have been done, right? So I just want to clarify that. But so this is right around here where we had the what day of the week is this? Just want to be sure. This is December the 11th, right? This is right around, was it December 12th that we actually had the US-China and trade deal kind of put into place. Nevertheless, here resting off of the trend line, and it was over here when the trade deal was put into place, right? And then this is where you had the resumption upwards coming off of. This is the entry is what I'm getting at. And I know that's hindsight. I'm not telling you that in real time. And I'm pointing that out because hindsight is really easy, but hindsight is important for learning. But this was coming off the news, knowing if US and China are working at a deal that's supportive of the global economy, that's definitely supportive of oil. And here, technically, you had the trend line. You had the perfect opportunity with the entry CCI pulled back. And that was the entry up here. Now, because you're looking for the breakout up here, and we've been saying for these last couple of days, it looks like she's ready to break out to the upside. When you got up, if you were holding this trade, you wouldn't have taken profit over here. You would simply be holding to watch how price reacts and see if you get the breakout up there. All right, you move your stop to break even, maybe lock in 10 pips, look for the breakout. And it looks like she's going to pull back too, right? It looks like the entry CCI is way overbought for an extended period of time. That move is right in. If you get the breakout here, there's time to get in on the pullback to the broken resistance, get in at support on the resumption upwards. We closed today. We closed New York today above. I see you watching that trend line. So that's a little tough because you have the spikes up there. I'm focusing more on the resistance over here and trading above that, closing out New York today. Then I think we definitely see the US dollar making some gains. You're at a critical point right here, and it's very unclear, right? Right now, I'm looking that this is going to hold. This resistance is going to hold. Again, we'll see at the close of New York today what is happening. Yeah, let's take a look at both of them. Let's mark. Good trading again. Good job. So in looking, I'm going to do a top-down analysis here of the pound US dollar. And then we'll take a look at the US dollar Swiss franc. We'll take a look at both of them. So just step back here. And so, all right. First of all, I have to stress there's a lot of uncertainty going on here. Number one, this is highly correlated to what develops politically in the UK right now. And what is happening is Johnson, the prime minister, has gone ahead and pushed through a bill that says that there are going to be no more delays in the Brexit. So that means whether or not the EU comes to the table and gives a deal or not, either way, they're leaving. And you're seeing today the pound sell off on that news. Look at the big picture though, and you see that we have this resistance up here, right? That's arbitrary, but that's the level of where it was drawn in and why. And you could see that price came up and was rejected by it, right? and then since has come back down, blown through the highs over here, back down through them, but is now trading in this area that is supportive. There's supply over here. This area is supportive. We're in an uptrend, and we're above this trend line here, which is bullish, and we're above this support over here, which is also bullish. So in between this area right now, in between my mouse, where price is now, and here, I consider this to be a buy supply zone. And price is bullish as long as it's above this support and above this trend line, which extends through over here. So price is bullish. Mark, great, good trading. I don't know if you traded it off the news specifically or not. I'm just looking. You're obviously very short time minded. So I'm speaking from a top down overview, and this still technically is supporting the uptrend, and I would be extremely careful about taking any type of swing trade short here. That is super counter trend. If you did that over here, and yeah, great, and you're in it, and whether or not you would be taking profits or holding now, that's up to you. I don't know. I'd be leaning if you get anywhere over here. You could see this support coming in, this trend line. Here's the support, broken, held as resistance, broken, tested as support. This trend line is definitely in play, and you have this support over here. So any opportunity to lean over here is a good opportunity. And until you get below this area of this support line and this trend line right here, you have to have a bullish bias. And of course, the true trend supports that right now. So that's a top-down analysis of the pound US dollar. More importantly, for me personally, I have to stress that it's an uncertain market. There's a lot of uncertainty, 2.5% to the upside, 2.5% to the downside. And I like to go where there's more clarity. Now, let's also take a look at the US dollar Swiss franc. And I'll start on the daily here. This was a lot of trickery coming into last week when we were trading up in this blue zone after we rejected downwards, and we're up in here. All right, but here's where we are right now. After price broke down out of this blue box, this was our support down here. It was a blue box because you had resistance up here and support down here, and price was just trading in a range within these support and resistance. Finally broke down out of it, and then retraced heavily up. And I remember when it was trading up in here, and it looked like, in my opinion, from here, that there was the possibility that this was a fake out, and price had the opportunity to trade back within this blue box up here. That didn't happen. Price actually never, this resistance, this breakdown of support actually held as resistance. You could see that price did not close that day within that, above that broken support. It held as resistance. And since then has held as resistance, and price is now resuming downwards. So this looks right now, as you're making new lower lows outside of there, that there's potential room here to extend downwards, right? You have to look probably, I'm not sure. You see over here, you have good supply, and over here you have good supply. I'm looking for where the support would be. Probably right around here, around 0.974, right? Maybe right around there. So as you're resuming now, making lower lows, there does look like the potential that this could continue, and we have some further downside movement. What I'm seeing here is this support was broken. It's held up as resistance, and price now rejecting that resistance is going on to make lower lows. So that looks pretty bearish, and it could extend further to the downside. 200-point take profit. US dollar, Mexican dollar is at an interesting point as well. You could see down here, all this support down here, heavy support. Price is trading right around there right now. I think the last time it was down here was, I thought it was during Easter, but it's all summer touchdown here also. You have further support down here, right? The next support below is around 18.744. I'd be aware of this broken trend line over here. All right, looking at this now. So I'm kind of perplexed why the peso is making these gains versus the dollar. We're seeing the dollar weak, obviously, against almost everything. Okay, but at the same time, I mean, things in Mexico are not so bright. But this is probably coming off of last week's, what is it, USMCA trade pact? United States, Mexico, Canada, US, is it USAMC or USMC? Either which way, this is probably still appreciating off of here. The pound, I mean, the US dollar, Mexican dollar, if you go back and like, let's look at a monthly chart. It seems like almost a one-way depreciation of the Mexican peso. So long-term, is this a good buying opportunity? Probably. You have a big swamp against you here, buying the US dollar, Mexican dollar. You have a pretty high swap against you. So you have to wait for signs that this is turning around as you're looking to buy lean off of this support over here, right? Because you don't want to get caught on the wrong side of this trade with the swap against you. So from a longer term perspective, I think the next thing that we'll see is a bounce off of here. And then I'd be looking to see what happens on this test of this broken trend line here. That should hold as resistance. Like mentally, I feel like we're going to see a much weaker peso. I'm talking like 25, but that doesn't appear to be what we're seeing right now on the charts. And even though I have these preconceived notions, we have to ultimately, at the end of the day, trade what's on the charts. You are trading down here at some support right now. I expect a bounce off of support, and then it's really important to see what happens on this trend line. So just focus in on that trend line. It's definitely in play, and it should hold as resistance. Back above this trend line is really a time to get bullish, I think. Then you could get really bullish. Just caution. There's a lot of uncertainty here, and definitely just broke down here and is now trading at a support. You have further support down a little lower, also at 1875, 74. Let me draw those in. All right, that's a good look at the US dollar, Mexican peso. Be aware, you have a heavy swap against you. Georgie, bottom for what instrument are you talking about when you're talking about the dollar itself? What instrument are you talking about as far as the bottom's concerned? USMCA. So what is that? United States, Mexico, Canada, and then the Americas. Yeah, Mark. Mark, if you even could send the link to the chart, we'll all look at it together. That's awesome. And Georgie, what were you specifically talking about as far as a bottom being put in? The dollar from and up here, but the Canadian dollar is stronger against it. That's probably reflective of oil adding to that Canadian dollar strength. Yeah, Mark. 220 pips. Where's the chart? Great timing on the day two, getting out right before the London close over here. 200. Where'd you get in? Where did you get in? We want to know exactly why. I'm assuming it was this, Mark. Did you take the breakdown right here? All right. I would have been more cautious and everything, waiting for that test of the broken support to hold as resistance, and then on the resumption, look for a trade just on a higher time frame. Is that what you took, Mark? This is, look at this beautifulness. I wish I was smart enough to be involved in something like that. I don't even think you want to add that in. I don't even think you need this one. So Mark, so back when I was young, and I first was trading, I used to trade off of really short time frames, right? I noticed that my biggest losses came after my biggest gains. All right, this is really important. And then I also have learned since that Paul Tudor Jones, one of the greatest traders of all times, definitely a legend, Paul Tudor Jones, has also said the same thing, that his biggest losses came after his biggest gains. This is something that I definitely attest to. And why? Because, you know, after you make some really big gains, if you have the mindset, the psychology that now you have free money to play with, that's not the case for that's well earned money that you worked hard for and that you earned and that's yours. Okay, that's not free money that you have now to play with, because if you have that mindset that like now you have this free money and you could take more risks, you're probably going to give it back pretty quickly. So it's a really good idea, unless you're like, if you notice for a week or two you've been really tuned in and you've really seen the market really clearly and you're trading well, okay, then you should be trading pretty big size and larger. But if you just took a big win and you're not seeing the market like that, don't feel like you have money to play with and could take bigger risks. You're going to give it back just as quick. Okay. The best thing to do would actually be after a really big gain with would be to trade down in size and trade lighter and make sure you hold on to that gain. I want to see you hold on to those gains and keep building on those gains. All right. You worked hard for that. Great trading. King, let's look at the pound Japanese yen. $147.12. Wow. Wow. You're on fire. So what do you see, King, right now? Your instance all the way up here, short, right? And you held it through the break of that trend line. Let's just start here. Hold on, bear with me. I want to see what you see. I want to see what you're looking at. No, that doesn't work out for me. I see a little bit better, but so you're short all the way from 147.12. And you held it all the way down here, right? All I see down here is this little bit of support she's trading at right now. It's support right now. But I don't know. What do you think? What are you looking to do? You're about 400 pips into profit. Trading now down at, you could see the support down here, right? Awesome trade. You guys are killing the pound. I'll forever be young at heart. That's for sure. King, what are you doing here? I want to, as you're reevaluating time of day, you're going into the London close. Okay. You know better than us on this trade because you crushed it. You crushed it here. And good job holding through this trend line over here, right? Because I would have taken profit on this bounce over here. And as soon as we got back above that resistance over there, I know me. I would have taken my gains. You held it. You broke through the trend line. You see the big breakdown, came back up, tested the resistance, came back down again. She's waterfalling down. But now you're at the time of day where it's the London close. It's a time of day where that's usually, you could see price, that's the max move of the day. You see reversals around that time of day, especially on indices. And you're trading at this little bit of support. Again, I would have been out of the trade up here for sure. And then you see there, you held it through there. Good job. And then as you came back down there and crushed through, came back up, tested that broken trend line, held this resistance. Now you're back down again. Yeah. Mark, send us your chart. Send me your chart. Just let me know how you're sending it, whether you're sending it through Twitter, through TradingView, or to my email. But if you could share that chart with us, we all want to take a look. That's a That's an awesome trade. You too, King. You guys both crushed it. It looks like spam, right? There you go. I see what you're looking at now. Let me just get a line in there to focus in on where you're focused in down at. Yeah. So again, for sure, King, you know better than us. You're the one who's definitely crushing this trade. You are also down at a support level right here, right now, and sometimes is there more potential from where you are than further than 143.09? Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. All right, and I don't know because again, there's a lot of uncertainty. Pause 1 second. All right, sorry about that. Listen, there's a lot of uncertainty here, right? And you know, I don't know what's going to play out. I have no idea what's going to play out. I don't know, like things could develop really quickly and escalate really quickly where it looks like maybe Britain is leaving without a deal. And you may see the pound selling off on that, right? Ultimately is going to be supportive of the pound getting out of the EU. But what happens in the near term, I have no idea, right? We could come back down and all the way test down here, the support all the way down here at 139.50, which will also be this trend line support. I have no idea. I think you need to focus also then on right now, and this is where I could help you, is if you're holding this looking for more gains than you already have, where are you going to get out if you're wrong on the upside? Like, where do you consider that the uptrend has resumed and you need to get out? Is it above this trend line over here? That might be a possible place where, you know, you get back. This is where I would have taken profits originally, up here, like at 145, right? Maximum. And once I saw this breakdown, it looked like it had failed to me. It didn't. It looked like it had failed. I would have erred on being cautious, even though I was wrong, right? Because you could see clearly here that this held perfectly. I had a better, I think, notated right here. Maybe not. What I'm saying here is if you're looking to hold for further gains, then you have to know where you're wrong and you're going to lock in profits and get out of the trade. And that's where you need to be focused on right now. If you're going to continue to hold, just be aware of where you're getting wrong and you're taking profits on the trade, and not be concerned. Then you have to be aware that you might get back some of your gains. And you have to be okay with that. You have to find a level where you're going to get out here, wherever you moved your stop loss to lock in all these profits. So we're definitely seeing yen strength today, but at the same time, I mean, the yen is just coming off extended losses. So whether or not you're seeing any type of new turn developing or not, I'm still in the camp of further yen weakness, right? And you're seeing right now, you're seeing the New Zealand dollar, which has been really bonkers against the yen, just giving back a little bit of gains. If you think something more is developing there, do you think that, I'm trying to see where that, a good look at that resistance is. I think it's right about there at 72.97. I think this is just a healthy retrace so far. Nothing more is developing than simply just we were overbought, and now we're just kind of mellowing back out. So definitely looks pretty bullish to me. Maybe look to this support line down here if you get back around here to lean off of for a long. $144.70. I mean, considering how much profit you've taken out of the market, 144.70 is up here. So you have one swing high up here, and you got it towards the top of the next swing high. Is that giving back a lot? 100 pips? Well, you're also 400 pips into profit, so it's giving back, you know, a quarter. That's not too bad. So Rustin, um, definitely today, you know, Japanese yen is making gains on the New Zealand dollar. We got a nice strong downtrend day today. Is this looking toppy? But it's definitely also very counter trend, and that's okay. There's a lot of money to be made. The most money is to be made on the exact change of the trend. It's also one of the most difficult to do. Trying to pick tops and pick bottoms is really difficult. Um, I'm looking for more high probability trades, so I don't do that. But you look here what these guys did on the pound. That's where the most money is to be made. You can make a, if you're right, you can make a lot of money, but you have to be able to get out quickly. If you're wrong, you have to know where you're wrong. And what are you looking for on the downside? I see the next support down here, right? I'd be looking to lean off of this support with the entry CCI pulled back in the uptrend on the 8-hour. And if we could trade down here, I'd be looking to see if we resume off that. So is that your take profit? What's the risk on that? It looks less than 1-to-1. So you're focused in the right area as far as where the momentum is. Just be careful about chasing momentum, especially against the trend. And again, it's not that this trade won't play out and work out. It's just that you want to focus on taking the trades that are going to give you the most clarity, that give you the highest probability, and also everyone be focused right now. We're at the time of day where you should not be taking any new trades. These next 2 hours of the day are just not a good time to be trading. We've just hit the London close, 12 o'clock Eastern time between 2 is, from my experience, I don't take any new signals during that time of day. It is a time if you to fade things, but that's not what we're doing. Okay, and fortune favors the bold. I both Mark and King, you guys crushed it. Good job. Definitely watching the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar in the next, 12 hours here, as we are at a critical area of support, whether or not the support holds and we're able to resume upwards, or we break down out of this pattern. If we break down out of this pattern, definitely looking to see if it's possible to get then short. I will not trade the breakdown itself. I'll be looking for obviously my old retest of broken support to be resistance and then the resumption downwards, but I'll be looking here. Canadian dollar is pretty strong all around, right? It's the risk on, that's the supportive of oil. We have to take out this level. If we take out this level to the upside on the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, and again, get the retest, I'll be focused over here, see if I can get long. There's some nice room to the upside if we're able to do that. And if we get rejected here by this resistance, I'm not looking at this near-term support. I'm looking down here to see if I could get any look down here further to reevaluate. Short here now from this session on the US dollar, Canadian dollar. The resistance was rejected up here. We're in a, this downtrend is developing, and I was waiting to get short below this resistance after the support, after it was broken. We have the retest here, now the resumption of the trend. I'm holding the Australian dollar, Japanese yen from up here. I have my stops down below this support and this trend line support. If someone's looking overnight, if this support holds over here and during London we resume up, that could be a nice entry to get long the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. No, I'm definitely staying on the sidelines here on the pound. Again, I trade both the pound US dollar and pound Japanese yen on an automated system, and if overnight these guys are bullish still, and if overnight they resume upwards during my trading hours, which I shared in the chat earlier for that automated system, if they resume upwards here, I'll be taking longs on them. All right, just so you know, I'll be taking longs if they trigger long overnight during London. I'm not looking to trade these discretionary at all. I'm avoiding them. There's too much uncertainty for me, and I'm much more about making that consistent money than taking risks, because you could give back a lot of things you worked for just with one bad trade that you shouldn't have taken. And I avoid all uncertainty. This is uncertainty right now. I'm looking for things are clear. I definitely could see here on the pound US dollar what Mark was all over, and it was great, and it was awesome on the break. Yeah, I don't know if he was watching just the charts technically, or if he was aware of the bill that got passed. No further delays of Brexit, but you could see it play out perfectly, and it's awesome, but it's not my style, and it's not what I'm looking to do. And man, those are the both King and Mark nailed it. So on the US dollar, Canadian dollar, what I'll be looking to do, I'm going to look as we get around to 1.31. This, hopefully we're doing this tomorrow during New York and do it live. But as we get down here, I'll only be looking to move my stop in to break even. And then I'll watch what price does. If we get a breakdown, right, I'm targeting over around here, around 1.3045. If price stalls out over here, if price even up here, if price starts stalling out and retracing upwards, then I'll have my stop in to break even, and I'll be considering whether or not to take profits here. This is the way I give price room to make its move. I look to move my stop to break even at the first nearest possible support and resistance, and then watch how price reacts around there. So I think this is a good place to end our session today, and it was a good one. Every day gets better and better. Everyone who's new and stopped by for the first time, so glad you're here, and I hope everyone has a great day, and I'll see you all tomorrow morning.